welcome to the Group X podcast. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Tony, for the opportunity. I was excited when you reached out and really happy to be speaking with you and talk about spinning.
Awesome. Let's kick it off then. I'd like to start with you, how you got into the industry, and if you can give us a little bit of background on how that journey started for you.
Definitely. I've been into fitness all my life, grew up in country Victoria in Bendigo, so sport every weekend, and I just knew that something had to go that way in my career. When I was 19, I spoke to a friend who was a personal trainer, and she said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to be a personal trainer." And she said, "Don't do it. There's no money in it." So being 19 and very impressionable, I went, "Oh, okay, no money, won't follow that path." So I went down the corporate world for over 10 years. Then I had children, so I took a considerable time off raising my two daughters. And I'd always been into fitness, still continuing, running, cycling, swimming, everything like that. And then the time came when my youngest was going to primary school, and I knew I had to go back into the workforce and contribute somehow.
Yep.
And another friend said, "Okay, what have you always wanted to do?" And I said, "Personal trainer." And she said, "Go for it." So at the age of 39, I went to TAFE and did a full year, Cert 3 and Cert 4, and I just flourished, absolutely flourished, loved
Excellent.
it. And in that course, my lecturer was the then master instructor for spinning at the time, Natasha Iacchiavelli. And so we just bonded. We're similar age. And she took me under her wing. We did triathlons together. We rode together. We did all sorts of things. And she said, "Okay, time for you to come to one of my spinning classes." And I'd never set foot in a gym, never been to a gym. And I'm like, okay. And then the second I'm in her class, I can remember this to the day.
Yep.
I looked at her and I said, "I want to be you."
Brilliant.
And it was just there, that very first class, that first time being on a bike, I knew what I wanted to do.
Was it the music? Was it the atmosphere? Can you pinpoint what it was?
I think it was even before she started.
Yep.
It was the feeling you got as you walked in the room. It wasn't the fact that she had this fan base, because it was in a Richmond gym, so it wasn't as if it was like a heart and soul of cycling community.
Yeah.
It was a very small group, maybe 6 riders, but there was just a look on her face. She knew what she was doing. She had control of the room, and she was excited about what was going to happen. And I went, "Oh, I want this."
Love that. I love hearing stories like that. It's that moment of goosebumps where you realized, this is where I'm meant to be. I'm in the place that I'm meant to be right now.
Exactly. So I went on and got my certification very quickly with her. And then I went into more personal training, because that's what you do after doing your Cert 3 and Cert 4.
Yep.
And did quite well with that in a studio setting. And then just class by class, got my numbers up and got my following. And now it's mainly indoor cycle and just a handful of clients I still train. Yeah, after 10 years, still have the same clients. So it's more of a friendship base.
Yeah.
But it's the cycling that I'm really passionate about.
Can you remember your first class that you taught by yourself?
Yes. Oh.
How did it go? For those just listening and not watching, that facial expression was amazing. That was like oh dear. Yes, he's asked me that question, hasn't he?
and the main thing was, I don't think you get all the little tidbits of preparation.
Yeah.
And for me, it was, well, what do you do before the class starts? No one had even said what to do. So I got into my class very early, super prepared. Everything was there. I had music turned on, and I sat on my bike for 15 minutes.
Yep.
And just looked at people. And I'm sure instructors still do that, some of them.
Yep.
But
yep.
I'm like, and I was too scared to get off my bike and actually go and say anything. I was just sort of nodding to people and smiling awkwardly. And thinking, "Oh, please, 15 minutes, countdown now."
Yep.
So it wasn't so much about the content of the class. It was the pre-class that really shook me to the core. And I just had to change that. That was that one thing I had to change for the next time.
Yep. How did you change it? What did you do?
Well, now I don't hop on the bike even for the intro track, really.
Yep. Yep.
I walk, press play on the music for my start of my class now,
Yeah.
and I walk around. I give the safety speech off the bike. I
Yep.
walk around. I'm still pushing in pop pins on the stages bikes.
Yep.
I'm still, adjusting knobs on the spinner bikes. I'm helping people, asking them to do things, pulling
Yeah.
jackets away from flywheels. I'm just there, in amongst them all, and looking at them, eyeballing them.
Yeah.
And that's when they'll tell you if they're okay or if they need to ride moderately for the day.
Yeah. That was the one thing that I remember vividly, and I've chatted to a couple of people on the podcast before about this, is when we lived in Canberra for a while, and I remember walking into a class one day and I thought, I'm going to do something different. Because normally I'd stay around the stage and be music playing and chat to the front row type stuff. But this day I thought, no, I'm going to stand at the front door and I'm going to greet people as they walk in.
Yes.
And the atmosphere in that room, in that class that day, was completely different to anything else I'd ever done, because I connected with every person that was coming in. And being the cheeky bugger that I am, any person that walked past the studio to go somewhere else, I'd be like, oi, no. In here. Cycle's in here, mate, not over there in the gym floor. Get in here. And it created something different that was amazing. The atmosphere in that everybody had connected with me, but were connecting with each other in that space as well. And it was something that I'll always remember to go, there are different ways post, pre, during class to be able to connect with people that can make a massive impact and change your experience, but also change the experience for participants.
This is the Group X podcast.
So just think about that. When did you find that out?
Oh.
And you had to find it out your own way, didn't you?
Yeah, 12 years into teaching.
So whereas, there's not many certifications that have that ongoing training that teach that.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's where one of the downfalls is in our industry.
Yes.
And with instructors, they only know what they know. They only go as far as what they've learned, and they just don't know what's out there. Just little tips like that.
Yep. No, I love that. So let's go back to your first class then. Can you remember the tracks you used?
I don't remember the tracks I used. I more remember the tracks I used for my initial certification.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Because I wanted to wow my master instructor.
Yeah.
And one of them was Dead Mouse, I remember. So
wow.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
And I know that when I did my audition, it was 3 tracks, and I could choose the music. We chose the music overnight, and we came and presented it the next day at day 2 of our certification.
Yep.
And then when I presented it, so it was just there was nothing magic about it. It was like a 7-minute track. It was a hill climb.
Yep.
Nothing fancy. And Natasha said to me afterwards, she said, "Are you sure you haven't been an instructor in your past life?"
Love that.
So
how nice is that?
Yep.
That's when when you as an instructor, when it all falls into place. Yep.
Definitely.
You're just there, you're doing your thing, and it becomes what I class as easy. Yeah, it's not easy, but it feels, it's smooth. It's not clunky. It's all, that's such a nice feeling to know. And to have a master trainer turn around to you and say that as well. Kudos to you.
Definitely. And look, we all have disaster days when things go wrong, or it's either our fault. The other day I was writing a presentation on all the things that can go wrong. It's called check 1, check 2.
Yep.
Forgetting this, forgetting that, not doing this. And what did I do that night? I forgot my phone and my backup.
Oh.
Nothing. And I'd created this amazing playlist and profile that matched that music. And I went, well, I can't do either now.
Yep.
So, and I'd been writing this presentation on what to do when you forget it all. So I asked another trainer in the gym, I said, "Can I have your phone?" And I just went on to Spotify, because my music is not on Spotify.
Yep.
I edit my music, and it's through Mixmeister, and then it goes onto my phone.
Yep.
So I have backup music as such on Spotify. I just had to pick. I know the music well, right? Alternate, moderate, hard, moderate, hard, moderate, hard. That's all the class was, and no one knew a thing.
Yeah.
Bang.
Yep. I love moments, as you're referring to, on that check 1, check 2 thing. I remember teaching at Randwick Fitness First many years ago, and we lost power halfway through the class. Now, well, what was I going to do? I remember pulling the cord out of the bottom of my phone and just playing from the speaker on my phone. Now, the people in the front row could obviously just hear, and it had to be close enough for me to hear so I knew what was sort of going on. But the people towards the back, well, they couldn't hear anything. There were no fans. There was nothing. All we could hear was, and legs moving in the bike sort of squeak that would happen, all that kind of stuff. But we managed to get through another 20 minutes, and it was just people at the end turned around and said, Tone, that was great. That was so, thank you. You could have easily turned around and gone, oh, well, guys, that's it. Throw your hands in the air. Yep, we're out of here, ta-da, whatever. But it was that moment of, okay, we've got to, my members have come for a workout.
Yes.
We've got to deliver something. Somehow we can do this. And it was that, that's the thing that I refer to, or I gel with when you say that whole check one, check two. You've got to have backup plan in some way.
Multiple backup plans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, a decade ago, a lot of facilities had equipment that failed at some stage. So I think, old school instructors, especially the ones with the tape cassettes or CDs, they know how to pull something together in the last minute. I think the key is on the inside, you're panicking.
Yep.
Just don't show it, and don't announce it. They don't need to know, because then they have this idea that it's not going to be to your best standard.
100%. Yeah.
They then go, oh, this isn't going to be so good. Whereas if you don't tell them, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And make it more about interaction with the people. If I didn't have anything, I would just be right. We're doing this, and you are going to help me. You're riding off, collecting. There's a whole story that would go with it.
Yeah.
A whole story.
Talk to us about spinning then as a program. And I'll say this. I understand it, but I'm going to try and put myself in a position that nobody knows what the program is. And I'll ask you some questions from that angle so that we can get instructors that might not know to understand a little bit more about it. Can you give us the background on spinning and how it came to be what it is today?
Well, everyone knows the name, the brand, that, and this is what people try and rip off because they know that everyone in the world knows this, the symbol. So spinning is the first indoor cycling program that eventuated in the world. So if people go, well, I know what spinning is, but I don't know what it is, we're the ones that actually started and kicked it off in the industry. So back in the late 1980s, an endurance cyclist and entrepreneur got together and they took everything that happened outdoors on a bike indoors. So there was a need for safety, for restraints in time through training, through methodology and heart rate training to reach certain goals in fitness, within races. And they built the first bike in Johnny G's garage. And then from then on, every weekend, friends got wind of it and said, I want to come and join you in your garage. And he built a new bike every weekend out of steel, welded it together. And then he put music to it all. And it was all based on heart rate training. So it hasn't changed. Yep. It's just the same. And the program has not changed over 25 years plus.
I love the fact, sorry, my facial expression probably gave it away to you then. He made a bike every week.
Yeah, to fill his garage.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, yep. So there are I've got a picture. I should send it to you. A picture of his first bike. And it is literally, the square steel put together in a frame, and it emulates the geometry of a road bike. So
please do. I'd love to share that through my socials as well. That would be fantastic to see.
And the geometry hasn't changed.
Yep.
The latest spinner bikes still replicate. They just build a bit better.
Yeah.
And now they have computers with technology.
Yeah.
But it was all about garage. Yes, in his garage.
That's fantastic.
So he was an endurance cyclist, and he did America's most famous race, which is called the Race Across America, RAM. And it's a 3,000-mile race, and whoever can get there quickest is the winner. And he found through trial and error doing it that he was either pushing too hard and then not able to recover. He just needed to find a steady state, the aerobic. And so that's where he implemented the energy zones that he had read about, they've been around for quite a while, and he implemented them, and that's where the spinning program takes hold of energy zones.
That's fantastic. 3,000 miles is a bloody long ride.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's days and days.
Yeah, I was about to say that's not 24 hours. That's, hello. No. That's, man.
And it's unassisted.
Is that something that's still done today, or they're not?
Yes.
It is still done today.
And one of our master instructors from America did it for the first time last year.
No
Yeah.
way.
So it held a very special place in his heart, emulating the creator of our program.
Oh, I need to investigate that more. I want to read up on that.
I will send you more of that.
That tickles something inside me from my early days of indoor cycling that just makes me go, you know what? Yeah, that's.
So there's a reason behind it. You know, you take what's outdoors and works. The bicycle, it's been tried to be reinvented. You know, take a wheel away, do this, add a wheel, da. But in essence, it's just two wheels and manpower.
Yeah.
And it's the ticker. It's your heart rate.
Yep.
It's your rate of perceived exertion.
Yeah.
It's your imagination to take the outdoors and bring them in.
Now, I'm going to ask this question, and it's probably a silly question, but I'll ask it anyway. Is there a right or wrong in the way of indoor cycling?
There's safety is the paramount. So that is the right or the wrong. That's it.
Yeah. But I suppose my question was more, you know, people say, oh, you shouldn't stand up within the first couple of minutes or all that kind of stuff when you're looking at it. And I think I've seen so much change since when I started in 2003 of that. You know, the first thing that I was taught with indoor cycling experience with Fitness Network back in the day was, you know what, for the first 7 minutes, no, there's no standing up. You don't do that. It's all just sit down, warm up before you get into it. Now we're seeing some programs where they're standing up right from the get-go and smashing themselves within the first 30 seconds. You know, I think I'm probably still getting my head around the fact of, as long as it's, as you just said, as long as it's safe and effective, then there's no right or wrong. It's making sure that your participants are looked after.
And understanding the goal. If the goal is balls to the wall for 30 minutes and you have very fit, and you know your riders, very fit, not overweight people, no injuries, go for it.
Yeah. Yep.
But do you know that about your people?
No, most of us don't.
No, you don't.
No. Unless you've got a group that's been there with you right from the word go and you've seen them, like the garage days, as you were saying from the beginning, you would have known them and been coaching them all the way through. So he would have been able to get to a stage where, right, balls to the wall, let's go, let's smash this. But,
But I think a lot of instructors don't understand the correlation of heart rate to effort.
Yeah.
And that just comes with, they only know what they know.
Yeah.
So I am predominantly a seated instructor.
Yep.
I do rides where I'm in the saddle, but I will offer standing to my riders. A lot of them don't now because I've educated them. It's not necessarily the right way to get through that class according to the goal. So if I want continued long effort of like a 10 or a 20 or a 30-minute effort, there's not a lot of standing because they will need rest.
Yep.
And I never promote a maximum heart rate. I never promote high heart rates. I don't even say those words.
Yep.
I want low heart rates for greater output.
Yep. I like that. And I think there's one thing that's always been on my mind is we're on a bike. Yeah. So many programs come up with, there's this position, there's this position, there's this position. But hang on, you're on a bike. You're either sitting down or you're standing up.
Yeah.
It's this is an attack position, or this is this. It's you let's go back to the basics of what it is. You're on a piece of equipment that allows you to get your heart rate up, and if you need to stand up, great, you can. Other than that, you can sit down and still get as good, if not better, a workout.
Oh, yes.
Than when you're standing up.
Definitely. And I'm running a masterclass for instructors that I've trained and other instructors of other programs at one of the gyms I'm at. And it's a flat road the whole way through.
Yep.
So 80 RPM to 100, that's all we go.
Yep. And
it is more or less an interval ride, but there's no set work, set rest. It's just ebbs and flows through zones 2 and 3, and it's just perfect. And it's just to teach them. You can teach the one position and still make it interesting.
Yes.
And still make it with a goal and still make it so that your people are wanting to come back for more, not going, oh my goodness, that was the worst. I'm never coming back to you again.
This is the Group X podcast.
So can you talk us through the training module that you deliver without giving all of it away, because obviously we want people to come and do the course, but can you give us a bit of a rundown on what to expect if I'm coming to do a spinning certification?
I'd say the comment that I receive of people who already instruct is in the first half hour, oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Excellent. Yep.
Oh my goodness, I've been teaching this incorrectly.
Yep.
It's all science-based, and it is done through tools and charts, and it's not just someone making it up. It's not just selecting a peer group that will say, yes, this is the correct. It comes from all the major players within the fitness industry over the years.
Yep.
So we work on safety first with bike setup, and I spend 45 minutes with new instructors on how to set someone up correctly.
Perfect.
It's not just a look down and you know the rest. It's not that.
Yep.
And I bring tools out, which are physio tools, and we look at angles, precise angles, and we look at all how to identify if someone's not set up correctly before you even hop off your bike to go and help them. So a lot of tools that way. We then go into heart rate training, so the essence or the foundation of riding a bike. It's cardiovascular, and we look at how to normalize it for our general public so that they're interested but not bombarded with the science.
Yep. Cool.
We're not talking fast twitch fibers and lactate and da-da-da-da-da. We're keeping it RPE, rate of perceived exertion, all that. We're then looking at creating profiles, and that's when everyone starts to go, ooh, we're getting to the good stuff.
Yep.
Because they basically come to you because they want to know how to put a class together and where do I find music.
Yep.
So putting a class together is about setting a goal and then finding either a heart rate zone or a theme or a notion that this is the journey I'm taking you on. And then we go and look at music, and we listen to a lot of music. We identify the BPM, beats per minute. I know when I first started, I wasn't given that pathway. I was just told, go find music, play it, do whatever you want to it.
Yep.
Whereas, I teach my instructors now, no, let's identify what the BPM.
Yes.
Where can we use it?
Yep.
Where perhaps should we leave it?
Yep.
There's some music, if you're not editing your own music, you should leave by the wayside. If it falls within that 100, if it's 115 BPM, leave it or edit it.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's when people start to go, okay, now I get it. And, you play some rocking epic music and they're like, it's a hill. And I'm like, well, actually it's 92.
Yep.
So we're on a flat, and they're like,
what?
No way.
What do you mean? No.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's all about that. So giving them those tools. And then we look at presenting. So how to put it all together in a nutshell, how to coach to your first-time riders, your 18 to 20-year-old girls who look really uncomfortable on a bike, your gentlemen that think they know everything about cycling, and you've got to try and educate them that you maybe know a little bit more, to your average gym goers, to your athletes, 75-year-olds come to my class, and 18-year-olds, everyone. And I love that mix.
Yeah.
So that's what the education about. It's a full day of training, and we hit the ground running. Boom. Boom.
Love it. So that to expect, would I be coming along and we'd be doing a class straight up?
There are 2 rides. And first off, we look at bike setup and safety. We go then onto the bike and we run through all the movements. So how to coach a seated flat, what your RPM range is, how you would feel on the bike, and the do's and the don'ts. So we also do what are called contraindications.
Brilliant.
They are the movements that are non-specific to cycling, that are considered unsafe and ineffective.
Yep.
And as soon as it's unsafe, it's not happening.
Would that include pedaling backwards?
Yeah. Well, that's not unsafe, but it can be unsafe.
Yep.
So I happen to have a very problematic knee that I don't have an ACL in, and it's just an old injury. Yep. And so a lot of the contraindications, I cannot even perform them to show my instructors because my knee hurts doing them. Yep. So I represent a large group of the population that come to my class, someone with a sore knee, a dodgy knee.
Yep.
So, with pedaling backwards, a lot of people say it's wear and tear on the bike, but not necessarily if there's not a lot of resistance on. But the point of pedaling is where you generate force. And that is the push down. And on the pedal stroke that's normal, the push down is at 3 o'clock. And if you're
Yes.
pedaling backwards, the push is at 9.
Yep.
And that angle of the knee is at a hideous position. And that's where my knee hurts.
Yep.
Terribly.
I remember one of my first classes where I taught freestyle cycle. I had a guy do that throughout the entire class, and it was so off-putting. But he sat at the back, and you know, I chatted to him afterwards, and he's just like, "Oh, I just love your music, but I just want to come in here and do my own thing. Do you mind?" And I was like, "Oh, you know what? No, but yes, but no, but yes, but you know, I'm grateful that you're here because that's fantastic, and your energy is brilliant. But when I look back, and I'm so glad you're sitting at the back because no one else can see what you're doing." Yeah, it was like, "I'm cool, man. I'm just going to let you do you, because if I tell you not to do it here, I know you're going to go and do it in another person's class anyway. So at least if you're in here, something happens, I'm here. I can grab you, and you know, and
that's the thing. Chances are he won't hurt himself, but also chances are he's pretty unproductive with his work.
Yes, yeah.
So
he was. I'll be honest. It was a good 20 or not 20 years ago, 15 odd years ago, and he was easily in his late 60s.
Yes.
But and I was like, okay, man, you do you. Brilliant.
And they don't want to be told, or they don't want to be. No.
I think all of us instructors, we've come across those people no matter what. You're always going to find people that come to your class that are going to do their own thing, no matter how many times we try and coach them to do things the way that we're trying to help them and to do things our way. But you never know what someone's going through. And sometimes the fact that they're just there, cool, thank you. I'm grateful that you're here. If this is your 45 minutes a day that is just you, I'm brilliant. You know what? You're here. Yeah.
And we're there as educators. So we're trying to educate them down the right path, but also in a very nurturing way.
Yes.
You know, I'm guilty of being a bit heavy-handed with letting somebody know that is not the right way. Yep. And, you know, I've kicked myself afterwards thinking, it's not about me. It's not about me. You know,
Yep.
Take that element away.
Yeah.
I
think it's great when we, as instructors and trainers and presenters, when we get to that point where we realize this isn't about me. It's about that person that's sitting on that bike facing me.
Yes.
Yeah. That person there is why I'm here doing what I'm doing. And I just need to make it as effective and fun and safe as possible for them. They're going to get something out of it. Cool. You know, if they don't do it 100% accurate, it's okay.
Definitely.
I don't need to get cross at them.
No.
If they're standing up when I'm sitting down, it's okay.
It is okay. I try and educate them as to, you know, and it's very different for different people and different body mass sizes.
Yeah. Yep.
Standing is a different kettle of fish to someone else.
Yeah.
You know, I'm of a slim build and I'm athletic. I find it very easy to stand.
Yeah.
But my heart rate goes really high.
Yes.
And I don't want that.
Yep.
Whereas if I sit down, my watts are actually better. My quads are working harder. My glutes are working harder, but my heart rate's lower. So for me, that's a tick.
It's funny you say that. Now, I've just had my second hip replacement that happened in the beginning of February, and I've just started getting back on the bike in the garage. So when you were saying the garage before, my brain just went into, I can invite the neighbours. Oh, no, hang on a second.
Yes.
No, that's off topic. but I've been in there, and I was in last night doing it, and I only did about 25 minutes, but I'm not confident in standing up yet, even though I know my hip is fine and I'm good with everything. But I just sat down, and for me, in teaching the programs that I've taught in the past, I'm used to a certain, as we were talking, just alluded to before, certain beats of music where I'd be like, oh, no, I want to stand. But I've sat down the whole time, and it is a completely different workout when your bum is set down and my quads, even though I know how to engage my hammies and my butt cheeks when I'm pedaling as well, but it's so different to just sit for a full 25 minutes and pedal sitting down.
You know, so I offer the challenge, you know, today, challenge yourself. Get outside of the mindset that something has to change every 30 seconds, or that you have to stand on the chorus. That drives me insane. Standing on the chorus. You know, we've evolved from there.
Yeah.
So, and it was born from the road, and outdoors, cyclists don't stand unless they have to stand.
Yes.
On a very steep hill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even then they're going, oh, this is not going to last if I'm standing.
Yeah.
I'm going to run out of tickets, you know.
It's not in time with the music that they're listening to, and there is.
Oh no, definitely not. No.
Yeah.
So for me in my class, it's definitely I'm looking after all of us for the longevity. Lower heart rates better production of power. And I'm lucky that everywhere I teach has a power meter.
Yep.
So I'm educating people, and quite often the riders are more educated than the instructors that come and do fill-ins.
Yeah. Yep. No, I like that because it shows a difference in programs that are available for the industry.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's what spinning is, as you said, it's about RPE. It's about looking at, the metrics that you're getting from the bike in front of you. You know, there are so many different ways to teach. If you do have a bike that doesn't have that, that's cool. You can still do it. But if you've got it, tap into it and use it effectively. Use it for your workout as an instructor. Have the skill set to engage that and actually teach with it.
Definitely.
It's going to give your members a different experience.
Some people will say, "Oh, I'm not competitive," and I'm like, "Well, it's not a competition in here.
Yeah.
There's no leaderboard. No one is, and I won't go around and chastise you because of your output of power at any stage. But it is about being accountable.
Yep.
And I give the analogy: if we took all the numbers off the dumbbells in the gym, there's no accountability. And how do people know where to start?
Yep.
How do people know if there's progress being made? How do they know if they're overtraining? How do they know the reason why they've actually injured themselves? There's a number of things. How do they see decreases in fitness because they've not trained for a few weeks?
Yeah.
Same. And now we're lucky to have it on a bike. Use it.
Yeah.
Use it.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you have the bike, 100%. If you've got a bike that's got metrics, please tap into it. Yeah, your members will love it if they understand it. Yeah.
And if you're an instructor that doesn't know about it, go and find somewhere to read about it.
Yeah. Educate yourself. Upskill yourself so that you are having a point of difference.
Yes.
You know, if you're coming into a gym that has bikes with computers on them, understand them, teach to them. You know, I was guilty for many, many years of looking at it and just going, oh, whatever that does. Yep, cool. Yeah, so it's attached to the bike. I don't need to worry about it because that's not the program I'm teaching. But if you have it and you can tap into it, guys, you're giving your members a point of difference to all the other instructors that are out there doing exactly what you were doing. Do something different.
What you were doing 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago. You know, it's just and the program hasn't changed. We've not introduced any new moves.
Yeah.
There's no different way to pedal a bike. We're still as safe. We're still as effective and fun, but we've now got this added metric of power, which makes you accountable. It's, and we're really honing in on how do you feel when that number's on that screen.
Yeah.
And your fitness comes when you feel like it's easy, but that number's still the same.
Yep.
Or if you're getting a higher number and you're going, I can hold this. So it's there for all of us. It's a win-win.
This is the Group X podcast.
How important is music to you with teaching?
I'm okay if I taught without music. It wouldn't worry me if it wasn't there.
Yep.
But I know that the members would hate it.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a big crutch for them.
Yep.
But having said that, I love sourcing music and I love using music, and I will spend up to 2 hours on Mixmeister with a playlist and fiddling around and merging and cutting and pasting and da-da-da-da and upping the BPM throughout a track somewhere, and love that.
Yeah. I've got music playing all day long. Everywhere I'm at, there's music, whether it's on my phone, whether it's on my laptop. Music's a massive part of me and what I've always done. And my music collection will vary as well, from classical right through to jazz to hip hop to whatever it is. You know, I struggle listening to the radio sometimes these days because some of the mainstream stuff I don't gel with. But get me through the 80s and 90s and a lot of the remixes that are coming out now from stuff that were done in the 80s and 90s. I could listen to that all day long, and I'll be sitting, sometimes even my daughter who's 7 sits in the car with me and knows how much I love indoor cycle stuff. Dad, this would be a good track, wouldn't it? And when you know you've got a 7-year-old that turns around and can listen to the beat of the music and keep
brilliant,
it's like darling, that would be an awesome track. Stuff that I might not have thought of before.
Yes. I've got 19 and 21-year-old daughters, so I'm tapping into the young, the young category, and so they'll go out clubbing and they'll go, "Mum, I Shazammed a few songs for you tonight," and so I'm like, send them my way, and they know my style because they come to my classes as well. So I'm getting this club music, and a lot of it's on SoundCloud, so I've got to get it from there, and I'm getting it from everywhere. And so it's stuff that's not even on YouTube or Spotify. and they'll be there going, I've Shazammed it, and I've also tapped out the beat because they've got an app on their phone. So your 7-year-old needs to download that app to tap on the phone.
Yeah. Leah, are you listening? Good.
Yes. But so music and I love introducing my riders to new music.
Yep.
To something they've not listened to before. I am not a fan of the pop music, although I'm guilty. Today I played an all 80s. I played one hill was all rock music, one hill was all pop music.
Yep.
And big long hills and just doing a different thing to each one. So because that sort of elicits those memories and people go, yeah, I'm in it, I'm invested in this today. Yeah. But I love finding a piece of music that, if anything gives me goosebumps, I have to play it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I don't like a piece of music, if it makes me cringe or go, I might grow to love it, no, it never sees the light of day.
Yep. Doesn't get put on the list.
Ever.
Yep.
Ever.
I secretly and probably stupidly did Eminem. My brain's just what?
Which one? Lose Yourself?
Yes, Lose Yourself. Yeah, and I did that to my. So now it was the 7.5 minute version or whatever it was. That was a lot longer than what. Yeah, and it was the same beat the whole way through. Now, oh my God, I remember 3/4 of the way through that track, members looking at me going, "One, I'm bored, but two, Tony, I can't. I'm done. I'm tapping out. You've killed me." And I think it was the second track that I did, and while I loved it,
oh dear.
No, I never went back to it again. It was one of those guys. Cool. You could probably work on that, Tony, but no, just stay. Maybe not 7.5 minutes.
Whereas I did a whole 35 minute of 80 to 100 BPM.
I think, and that's probably stupidly for me, had too much resistance on. I'd listened to it for half an hour before. I hadn't actually ridden it myself. And downfall on me to go, Tone, no. Probably go jump on the bike yourself, do that yourself, and work on what you can do in that track, and not just go, here, this is what we're going to do. There was, I just remember it was an epic failure.
We learn, we live and learn, don't we? Yes. I've literally come home and I've got the scissors out and I have cut up my profile in the bin.
Yep.
And I've gone, never again.
Never,
that was ridiculous.
Yes.
Either too difficult and too intricate, or the music was just not in the right order, or something something bad.
I'm glad I'm not the only one then. And I'm sure there's other instructors listening as well that'd be like, Tone, yeah, man, we hear you. We understand. Yeah, we
and
get
I still do it. Still.
Yes. It sounds good. And while you're sitting there listening to it, while you're sitting on front of a computer, it's like, yeah, I can do that. It'd be brilliant. That's until you get on the bike that you, oh dear. Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, with spinning, are you finding that there is a certain age demographic of instructors at the moment that are coming through? Now, is it a younger population, or is it still a variety of what we're seeing for quite some time?
No, still a variety, which is great. And I think the oldest person that has done the certification is well and truly into their 60s.
Excellent.
And the youngest, like a teenager, 19.
Yep.
So it's just perfect. And I think so older people can relate to the program because it is safe and effective.
Yep.
And it is trusted. I think the thing is it's trusted. So you're not going to come to my class and get something that is going to potentially injure you or see you unable to recover enough to come again in a few days' time or the next day. And that's what we want. We want to see bottoms on seats every day if we could.
Yes.
So It's not my goal to thrash anybody or to kill anybody. If it's just nurture, get them stronger and fitter over time. Yeah. And then they come again. So I want my instructors to know that they don't have to appear to have all the candy in the candy store to start with, which will appeal to young people perhaps.
Yep.
It's about longevity. I would hope that every instructor sees their life in the fitness industry as a 30, 40-year tenure.
Yep.
I still want to be here in 10 years' time.
Yeah. When you're 30, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mightn't be on the bike as much.
Yep.
I know a gentleman, an amazing presenter, and he's in his 60s now, and he does most of his classes off the bike.
Yep.
I've not got a problem with that.
Yeah.
And his voice hasn't changed. His coaching hasn't changed.
Yep.
His music hasn't changed. That's his one downfall.
Yep.
It probably should change.
I think that's a skill set to have, though, to be able to teach a class off the bike. You know, when we're in so many programs, you're taught to role model. Oh, you need to show them what's going on. You need to be authentic with what you're coaching and doing. You can still do that, I believe, as well as being off a bike. But it takes a different type of skill set for an instructor to be able to do that. Now, yes, walking around the room, coaching, but you know, if you're teaching to the music and you're coaching everything there is, you need to know your music. You need to know your workout plan inside out and back to front, and know exactly how your participant should be feeling at any point in time. So it is a skill set that I think it can be learned, but it's a challenge.
And maybe some instructors never pluck up the courage to hop off the bike in the first place. You know, you're behind these handlebars, this safe space.
Safety zone, yeah.
You're too scared to even take one hand off to maybe go, ooh, you know. Woo. And, or if you are, you're doing that. You're not doing these epic big hand movements. And, you know, so start there with just gestures on the bike that are a little louder than you.
Yeah.
And then find a reason to hop off the bike. You might need to go and switch fans on after the warm-up track, or hopefully, if you've seen something going on with a rider that needs attention, hop off your bike, please.
Yep.
Don't just watch them ride down and they look like they're riding a clown bike, which I saw this morning in my class. And I went up and I said, have you ever been helped with your setup? And they said, no. And I'm like, ooh. And this young man was literally riding about that much too low. Yep. And I then raised it up.
I shouldn't laugh.
The production of power, he was amazed.
Yeah.
And it was a steady 7 out of 10 the whole class. So I wasn't killing anyone. And he was like, whoa, okay, I've converted him now.
This is the Group X podcast.
Boutique cycling in Australia at the moment. There's more and more boutiques starting to pop up. We're starting to see them in every state. There was a couple of years ago, they came, and then I think they sort of died off a little bit. And I think our demographic, probably not the right word I want to use here, but our market here in Australia is very different to what we're seeing in the States and what we also see in the UK as well. Are you seeing many of the boutiques around at the moment down in Melbourne?
Yes. And I'll get contacted by a person wanting to set up a boutique. So I identify first, you know, which path they're going down, whether it's the traditional cycling or the boutique style with all those movements that are dancing on a bike.
Yes.
To music, and that's fine. And if they are going down that path of the boutique with the dance movements, I'll ask them, what's the demographic you want to pull in?
Yep.
What's your market? Do you know your market? Do you know that the people are going to who come to those classes are between 18 and 35?
Yep.
Stop.
Yep.
Do you know no one who's pregnant should be going? Yep. Do you know no one that has an injury, a specific injury? Do you know that no athletes are going to go?
Yeah. Yep.
And they're like,
who's your market? A very good question.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's all I say. That's all I say.
Yep.
And they find out. out. And I think the main, I won't say issue I have is instructors that are pulled into a boutique off the bike who've got no qualifications, and they're being promised in-house training, and they're being promised classes, but then what happens after that boutique? Either they reach the tenure, they turn 40 years old, they become no longer relevant. What happens when the next new person comes up that's bright and bubbly? What happens when they want to go now and if they move home and they're living in a place where there's a big box gym that requires Cert 3 and Cert 4 and an indoor cycling certification, whatever it may be? They're out. They've got nothing. And they're not told this.
Yeah.
That's my only beef.
Yeah. Look, I don't get me wrong, I enjoy seeing boutiques pop up. I enjoy seeing it from a cycling the cycling part of our fitness industry. I love it when I see a new cycling studio.
Yes.
I hate it when they close. I hate it when they actually shut down and things haven't gone successful, because I know from selling bikes for a living with Body Bike, I know the costs that go into setting up a studio, from the bike to the sound system to everything you've got to take into consideration. That's a massive big outlay to when you see a cycle studio or a boutique, something like that, close, it's heartbreaking because you know the investment that went in, you know the passion that went in, but for some reason it didn't work. And that's I think part of the not knowing your demographic.
Exactly. What
you alluded to
area are
just
they
before.
in? What,
Yeah.
Is it full of retirees? Is it full of, Gen X who are fitness orientated and want results, and they want to do things correctly because they've got limbs or things in their body that are just, failing them at the moment in some way. So they're not going to go to these style of classes.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not. But, there is a place for it all. You and I agree on that.
Yep. Yep.
There definitely is.
Yeah.
But it just, when you get tagged in a video of something ridiculous, hey, Tony, is this what you're going to do in your next class? I'm like,
Yes, that has happened many times over the years, and I smile.
Untag me.
Yeah. I don't mind being tagged in them. I just look at it and go, yep, cool. You know what? There's a space for everybody in our industry, and whether I agree with it or not, cool. You know what? There's a space.
Yes,
they can do it. They can have fun. They can, I'm not an advocate for one over the other. I'm here for us as an industry. And if people are moving, I'm happy.
Yes.
If people are improving their fitness and they've got a way to engage or gauge what they're doing to make sure that they're doing something safe, effective, and it's improving their health, tick boxes. Go for it.
Although, what about when you hear, you're going to tone your upper body?
Look,
so it's the misinformation.
I'll be honest and say I've never done a boutique style of training before where there's been push-ups or there's been arm lines on a bike. So I can't. I'll be honest and say I can't comment. I can't give any comment on it because I've never done it. I would love to go and do a class one day and experience it for the factor of going, yeah, cool. Yep. Now I understand what it's all about. I would love, down here in Wollongong where I live in New South Wales, I would love to see a boutique open up around here somewhere that does that, because I'd suss it out. I'd go for a giggle, and I'd go for I'll be honest and say probably to be shocked, but also amazed at what goes on in that space. Because I've only ever seen, as you said, the videos that people tag you in or stuff that pops up on social media. I'd love to go, yeah, cool, let's see. Let's see what it's about.
No, I've been to one or two, and I go in a disguise and hide up the back, and so they've got no idea who I am.
Yeah.
And needless to say, and I've been to one where there's a leaderboard as well, and my friend and I, who are both spinny instructors, we were just taking it easy, cruising, not doing any of the moves, and we still got a higher average power output just by doing not much at all.
Yep.
And we could just see a few of the participants looked like that it was a train wreck.
Yep.
But they were fine. They didn't injure themselves.
Yep.
But
they haven't worked out. They had fun.
Yeah.
They sang along. They spitted it out.
It's the movement, collective movement. If we're all doing this, and it feels good.
I'll be honest and say, when I first saw it, I was like, that instructor doesn't have. What am I trying to say here? That instructor doesn't have a skill set. That's probably not what I'm trying to say. But it was
good form,
they're lacking some form of education. Was my first instinct when I first saw that. It was like, okay, why do you need to do that? Why are you doing push-ups on a bike if you're not working out properly in the way that you should? We do push-ups on a bike outside? But I think that's where what they do, and I could be completely wrong. So if there's people listening, please jump in and tell me. I'd love to open this can of worms.
Yeah.
If they're doing push-ups on a bike, it's obviously not for the right reason. That's not the right way to say. It's for a different reason than what I'm used to training in.
I believe, their line is, we're going to tone our arms.
Yep.
Right. You're not going to tone your arms by doing hundreds of push-ups on a bike.
Yep.
It doesn't happen that way.
Yep.
And if they think it happens that way, they've not done any education in fitness. Go back to your Cert 3, your Cert 4, where push-ups on the ground, chest press.
Yeah.
That is where, muscle is built through hypertrophy.
Yeah.
This is the Group X podcast.
What resistance is being used? You know, I've always been one to coach with the resistance to make sure it's safe and effective. And
Yeah.
you know, my big thing has always been on the beat of the music. I train with music, and that's been it.
Mm.
I look at some of these, and yeah, they're with the music, but I also wonder, is there resistance on? Is it just the flywheel doing its thing, and that's what's propelling you through?
Mm.
Yeah, as I said, I probably need to go, and I just probably need to shut up and go and do a class and experience it for myself to go, okay,
Yeah.
I won't go back. Or, you know what, I'm hooked. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, and I've had an older gentleman tell me that, and he's a triathlete, and he said he went to one with his daughter, and he said, I couldn't do the moves, but the instructor was looking at me sort of saying, well, come on, do this. Why can't
Yeah.
you do this? And he goes,
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. And I said, well, I hope you didn't try or persist. And he said,
Yep.
no.
Yeah. Yeah, as you mentioned it before, and I think I'll reinforce that as well. You've got to teach to who's in front of you.
Yes.
You've got to connect to your participants that are in there. And while the boutiques, I think, are probably fantastic for who they're trying to attract, they're trying to attract a different market than what you and I are probably used to in our collective years of coaching and teaching from a bike. They are tapping into a different market. So it may, you know, it's.
But
Yeah.
don't you get a real kick out of the young people that come to your class that get it
Yes.
and that ride effectively?
Yeah.
And wow, that excites me.
Yeah.
Because it brings me back to me as a young athlete, what I was doing without any knowledge of a gym or,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
I was trying to ride my bike outdoors as hard and as fast as I could outdoors
Yeah.
on a circuit that I was doing that was a 20-minute circuit. Bam, go for it. Yeah, do that indoors.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's what I think the last 23 or 20 odd years have been for me, is that's replicate what was done outside inside. Yep.
Easy.
If you can't get out there, cool. You know what? There's a bike in here. Let's go. Let's do what we're doing out there in here and make that effective for you.
And fun.
Yes.
Down to fun.
Yep.
And it can be fun. Those numbers on the computer can be fun.
Yes. Yeah. Challenge yourself. What did you get last time? What about this time? Yeah. That to me personally, that engages me, but I don't know whether that's everybody in our industry, every instructor in our industry. I think each instructor is unique in the way that they're going to deliver what they deliver and getting that message across from their class, you know. And I think that's got to be vital as well in what we're getting across to instructors, no matter what program it is. Have your flair still.
Yes.
Be you, because we don't want 200 Karens out there or 200 Tonys out there. What we want is everybody that gets on a bike to be unique in your own way, to have your following.
Definitely. And only speak about what you know.
Yeah. Yep.
I was caught out in the very early days. I was talking all about, you know, what was in my manual, but I didn't really understand it. This was in the inception of me being an instructor before I became a master instructor. And there was one gentleman that was a follower of mine. He'd come all the time to one class, and I walked around and I said to him one day, oh, what is it that you do for a living? And he said, I'm a uni lecturer. And I went, oh, fantastic. What do you lecture in? And he said, exercise, sports science. And I went, oh. And he goes, yes, you have said a few questionable things over the years. And I give that story at every certification.
Yeah.
Only talk about what you know, because you'll get caught out. If you don't know it, you'll get caught out.
Yeah.
Don't bluff your way through it. If you don't know it, go and find the source to find out. Ask someone. Yeah.
Hey, just on that,
yes.
You mentioned something about certification. Now, is there a pass and fail?
Yes.
In a spinning course?
Yes.
Yep. What is something that would, and I'm not saying this as a negative, but what would be something that would make me not pass the certification? And I say this for instructors to, you know what, guys, prepare yourself. These are some things that you need to look at to make sure you're nailing.
So there's an online exam component. That's the only form of assessment.
Okay.
And that happens post-course. And it's 50 multiple choice. It's an open book. It's an open-ended timed exam. If you have not listened in the course, if you have not read the manual somewhat and studied, you won't pass.
You won't pass it. Yep.
You have to know about energy systems, energy zones. You have to know about the mental training. You have to know about, the correct positioning, how to put someone on a bike correctly and effectively. You have to just listen and
Yeah.
take it in.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Look, I like hearing that because I think if these days, if I'm going to a course, I want to know, I'm going to go there with an open mind and be that dry sponge to walk in and go, cool, I want to know everything. I want to learn everything.
Yes.
But I also want to know what are some of the key things that I need to make sure I'm nailing in this. You know, there's it's black and white, but there is a little bit of grey in there somewhere, I believe, with all courses that I've done. You know, we need to know this. There is certain things that if you don't get that, yes, you're going to fail. It is black or white within that. But it's as long as you've got that knowledge of this is what we've got to do when we've got to do it.
Yes. And it's common sense. A lot of the questions are about common sense. Cool. A lot of them are trying to trick you. And if you actually put yourself literally into the position they're trying to have you, you're like, well, we don't write like that. So that's not the correct answer.
Yeah.
So it's thinking laterally, which is what we should do as instructors. Put yourself in that position on or off the bike, and you should have the answer there. Definitely. Yeah. And, you know, I have had to not allow someone to resit the exam because I knew that they were going to go and do tap backs and things like that and push-ups, but still call it spinning.
Yep. Because
spinning is a brand.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know that.
Yep.
Spinning is a brand name.
Yeah.
Just like Kleenex. Kleenex is a brand. Yeah. So when someone wants to try and take that word and they say, I'm a spinning instructor, well, if I've not seen you in the last 7 years, no, you're not a spinning instructor.
Yeah. Yeah. You're an indoor cycle instructor.
Yes. And there've been many other along the way which are perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yes.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah. No, I think that's to me is a big thing with what I'm doing with Group X is to get all the programs known. Yeah. Allow instructors to understand what each of these programs are. Yeah. As you said, spinning is a brand. You know what? There's things we do in spinning that you wouldn't do in another program, you know, or another program wouldn't do what you're doing in that way. So it's part of this for me is to allow instructors that understanding and get them to look outside the square that they've lived in forever. Yeah. There are so many programs out there.
Think about education, continuing education. Oh my goodness.
I think there's like 67 individual programs that I've looked at recently.
Wow.
That are, you know, and that's over all genres within group exercise in the fitness industry. There are so many of them, and there's probably a hell of a lot more that I haven't even uncovered yet, you know, but my plan is with this is to try and get more and more of them and get them spoken about so that instructors and clubs as well can also understand that there is a lot more programs out there than maybe what you're teaching. And let's find a program that fits your demographic, that fits your gym, so that you're not the same as every other gym that's out there.
Yes.
You have a point of difference in what you're offering that caters for you. Yeah. If we're all doing the same, what's our point of difference?
And if your numbers are suffering in a class, what's being done about it? Is the group fitness manager or the manager looking at not just canning the instructor? Why not help the instructor maybe go and re-educate again or go and do a different course where they know this course might be just on presentation.
Yep. Could make a world of difference to your teaching. Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't have to, you know, I will go and I follow another presenter around. She's an Australian presenter, not in the indoor cycling world. I go to her and she's like, what are you doing in my course? And I fess up. I say, I love the way you present. Yeah. I'm here to learn from you. Some tips.
Yep.
So I'm watching you as a presenter today.
Yeah.
And I have a ball doing it. You know, I teach aqua on the side, so I'm there as well to pick up that, but it's just to watch her.
Yeah.
And how she communicates.
I think that's fantastic. And I think more instructors should probably do it, you know. Get out there. Look at, you know, if your class numbers are low, look at why they're low. Try and ascertain why they're low. Try and decipher what's going on there and have a chat to your Group X manager. Have a chat to your club manager. Have a chat to some of the other instructors that may be getting more attendance, or go and do their classes to find out, hey, what's going on? And that's not to say that you know, every instructor needs to do it. But if you are an instructor whose attendance is a little bit lower and you're struggling, there are many, many ways. You know, I recently this week had a conversation with a gym that has told me that they're going to cancel their cycle studio. And I said, why? And they said, oh, the programs are dead and dying. And I said, I'll be honest and said, you know what? It's not your programs, it's your instructors. Your instructors are bored of doing whatever they're doing and they're not engaged anymore. He said, oh, my instructors are great. And I went, well, yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you and say your instructors aren't great, because programs just don't die. There's a reason why programs die in a gym. You know, it's not the equipment. Well, sometimes it's the equipment if the equipment's really old. But you know, and it's not. There's reasons and reasons why this something won't work, and look into it,
Yes.
especially as a gym owner or a group X manager. Uncover the real reason why a program is going and work on it. You know, it may not be. It may be that program doesn't suit your demographic anymore. Cool.
Yes.
Throw in a new one. Yep. It may be that instructor.
It's not as simple as going in and putting a new playlist together.
No.
Hey, or a new ride, a new profile. You know, that's not upskilling.
Yeah.
So that is not upskilling. I think people get that confused.
Yeah.
You know, spend the time, learn a little bit more. And when you go to an instructor, don't necessarily go there to Shazam their music or steal their ideas.
Yeah. If you want my playlist, I'll give it to you. You know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm the first to give my playlist and my profile to everyone because I know they won't teach it the way I teach it.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I'm grateful that you said that because I think there's a lot of instructors that, oh no, I can't share that because they'll no. The way that you teach is can be completely different to the way that I teach. We could do the same music, but our workout is going to be completely different because of us and our personality that we bring to that workout.
Well, you'd love it. In the spinning community in Australia, I've got our own little Facebook group. I will post my profiles all the time. I will post music. They share music and profiles with me. We get together for brainstorming coffee sessions where each of us has to come to this session with a profile. And we go, yes, and we go, I might do it this way. And we just share.
Yeah. That's nice to hear. So, guys, if you are going to do the spinning course, I'm sure that they'll be, you'll tell them about that Facebook group as well and get people engaged.
Everyone, definitely. Because, you know, I can't just sit here at the top of my game and be satisfied with me here. I want to bring everybody up.
Yep.
I want to bring them all up. Want
to
give them the tools so they can go, I want to do that. I know how to do that. You know, I know where to grab this. It's always about re-education, always. And for me as well.
Now, are there any courses coming up?
We've got one in Sydney happening. So hopefully people in Sydney are listening and might know about it. This is the first one face-to-face in Sydney for over 10 years.
Wow.
So they need to jump on board. I live in Melbourne and I'm running them maybe 3 times a year. So Melbourne instructors know of spinning and they know and they frequent it and it's very well patronised. But in Sydney, first one coming up on the 6th of May. It's a Saturday.
Brilliant.
And it's at the University of New South Wales in Kensington.
Okay. How can listeners find out more information? Obviously, we'll put some links in the show notes as well. But I'll also link through. So on the Group X website now, we've got a new page, courses, which they'll be able to find the spinning tab there, which will link through to a little blurb about what spinning is, but also have a tab where they'll be able to link over to the website as well.
Which is PT Works, you know, or they can. I'm kgorman.spinning@gmail.com.
Brilliant.
Easy.
Cool. I'll throw all that in the show notes so people can reach out as well. But guys,
and for Melbourne instructors, there's one in July.
Cool.
And for the rest of Australia, there will be an online course. I would say maybe August.
Brilliant. I was going to ask you that as well. How have you gone down that path of online training? And let's talk about that for a second before we wrap things up. How I'm gonna work on how I phrase this question properly because I want to tap into when we went into lockdown, when the craziness hit our country, and we went, oh crap, this is crazy. We've got to stop doing what we're doing. How easy or how hard was it for you to pivot during that time?
Well, when we knew we were going to lock down, the last class I was running that day, one of my participants said, Karen, you need to set up a Zoom group and you need to do it now. And I'm like, oh. So I announced in my class, right, this is what I'm doing. I was on Facebook with a lot of people connected anyway. So the very next day I ran the first Zoom class. And I made a group, and the group just got bigger and bigger, huge. So I ended up running like 8 to 12 cycle classes a week out of my garage, and a massive community, a lovely community.
How did you find teaching to a camera compared to teaching to people?
Very challenging at first. Technology, I was scared of technology.
Yep.
somebody could have made a lot of money if they were allowed to go to every instructor's home and connect OBS,
Yeah.
connect audio, set
Yeah.
everything up. They would have been a
Yep.
millionaire if they could have done that.
Yep.
You know, we're still hearing of instructors wanting to do that now because they
Yeah.
think that's the way to go now, whereas
Yep.
I'm the opposite. So I just did the basics and that worked. It was really popular and people just wanted to see me. So it was about being human and about them having fun. And I enjoyed it. It kept them going more than I needed it to keep me going because I'm always upbeat anyway.
Yeah.
And our family wasn't affected by the lockdowns as such.
Yep.
I was still working a lot. I just happened to not travel in my car to go there.
Yes.
I was still seeing the same people and new people.
Yep.
My husband, he's a firefighter, so he kept working. My 2 daughters got work, and so none of us were at home locked in, insular. We didn't need that. But I know it was very important for so many people. They would tell me every day, you don't know how important this is.
Yeah. They were grateful.
Yeah. And they still are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you run online training before? Has that, you've done a couple of the online training?
Not pre-COVID.
Okay. Yep.
So if anyone interstate wanted training, I would rely on a gym to host a training. So I would go and train all the instructors.
Yep.
So through COVID, I think everyone said, right, everything's online now. Well, why don't we get our instructors trained?
Yeah.
And perhaps, so I was in my garage training a whole group from Esperance in WA. And they were in their gym because they didn't have a restriction at that stage.
Yes, at that stage, yeah.
So that was fun doing that. And we still doing online where need be. So when there's enough interest, we'll run one Australia-wide. And even we tap into the Southeast Asia as well. So Malaysia, Singapore, those sort of countries join in as well.
Now, if I'm doing online training, do I need to have a bike at home?
No, you don't.
Brilliant.
It is preferred.
Yep.
But it is not essential because we understand not everyone does.
Yeah.
You might not have a relationship with the gym or you might not belong to a gym.
Yeah. You might not be able to go to that gym and sit in their studio all day long to do the course. And
So there are pre-modules that you can look at and you can go to a gym and actually hop on a bike and practice. And then when you're with me, we then look at it. And a big part of the spinning program is learning to be an instructor that coaches off the bike. Yeah. So that is where a participant of the course can actually observe other people via the screen and have an input that way. Yeah.
Brilliant. I love that. Hey, thank you so much for spending some time with me and giving me an understanding on what spinning is. I've appreciated getting to know you and also understand a little bit more about spinning. So thank you so much for coming on the show and for a chat.
We better stop. We could keep talking all day, couldn't we?
I think we could.